Dear colleagues, welcome to my workplace at Ranaghat, West Bengal, India. This is a cataract with small pupil. Let us observe this surgery. Size of this pupil is about 3 mm. We can do this cataract surgery without using pupil expansion device. But let me tell you that to do a safe surgery, we should see well, and for that we should use a pupil expansion device. The main incision has been made at around 11:30 o'clock. I have used a bit of phenocane. This is a side port about 3 clock hours away from the main incision. Now I inject an air bubble, and beneath this air bubble I inject trypan blue dye. But there is no, I have used adrenaline also, but there is no dilatation of the pupil in this case. I am going to use B-HEX, pupil expansion device. B-HEX means Bhattacharjee hexagonal. It's a hexagonal pupil expansion device invented by my friend Dr. Suven Bhattacharjee of Kolkata, India. So I go to higher magnification and take the device, use a B-HEX forceps to tuck the flanges. One flange has been tucked towards 7 o'clock. This is another one tucked toward 3 o'clock, and one more flange has to be tucked towards 11 o'clock. Here it is. Alternate flanges are tucked under the iris, and the pupil takes this beautiful hexagonal shape. Size of this expanded pupil is about 5.5 millimeter, and we can get a rhexis of 5.25 to 5.5 millimeter. I am using a utrata forceps, go along the border of the pupil, and thus I get a pupil of about 5.5 millimeter. Nuclear sclerosis of this cataract is grade 2 plus or grade 3. Hydrodissection is done with BSS, and now nucleus is rotated. Antechamber is filled up with 2% HPMC. I use 2 hooks to rotate the nucleus, clockwise as well as anti-clockwise. And now is the time to enter into the anterior chamber with the Phaco handpiece. The Phaco needle is placed bevel down, goes into the anterior chamber. Some superficial cortical lens matter is removed, and then the handpiece is turned to make the bevel up. This is my designed chopper. This is just a modified Sinsky hook. A vertical chop. And this free nuclear fragment is emulsified. Vacuum is set at 450 millimeter of mercury, and aspiration flow rate is set at 45 ml per minute. Ultrasonic energy is set at 65%, but I am using ultrasonic energy only when it is required and only whatever amount of energy is required. If I press more, I get more energy. So as soon as the piece is emulsified, I don't press more. This is the last portion of the nucleus. All the pieces are brought at the central part and then emulsified, because when the phaco needle is at the central area, both the corneal endothelium as well as the posterior capsule is far above or far behind. I have been able to remove most of the cortex by the handpiece itself, and now I use visco to fill up the capsular bag, and I use a Simcoe cannula to remove any cortex anywhere remaining. I find it easier to use a Simcoe to remove unseen cortex. Just go and move the Simcoe side to side and try to catch it. And in this case, I didn't find any cortex anywhere. And now, whenever there is a B-HEX placed, we should use a cartridge that goes beyond the B-HEX. I'm using a B cartridge for that. To go beyond the B-HEX, I need to enlarge the main wound by 0.2 millimeter. That means the main wound, which was 2.8 millimeter, is now 3 millimeter. And now the B-HEX, and now the lens goes, trailing haptic is placed in the bag, and the leading haptic is placed in the bag, and the trailing haptic is also goes beyond the B-HEX and it goes into the capsular bag. Now I have to remove the B-HEX. How to remove it? Use the B-HEX forceps. Hold the flange which is above the iris. Pull it centrally. Untuck all the flanges. Hold this flange and pull it out. Easy. And now we see some pigments. Whenever the B-HEX is removed, some pigments from the pigment epithelium of the iris from behind comes anteriorly. You just have to wash it out. At this time, I am using irrigation and aspiration from a 23G Simcoe cannula. I go behind the iris, behind the lens, and irrigate and aspirate for some time. And after using this 23G Simcoe cannula, I use bimanual irrigation aspiration. Irrigation goes through the main wound, aspiration through the side port. Irrigate the anterior chamber all around. Irrigate the capsular bag. Aspirate from anterior chamber, irrigation behind the lens, and aspiration in front of the lens. This is moxifloxacin. Now I hydrate the corneal stroma to close the side port. And this is the final lavage of the anterior chamber. And then I take a cotton taped Johnson bar to check the integrity of the wound. There should not be any leakage from any side. Few drops of moxie is applied and the case is concluded. Thank you very much for your attention. Hope this video will help you in developing your surgical skills. Be a great surgeon and serve your patients with love, respect, empathy, and great surgical competence.